Have you ever felt like there's a never-ending radio in your head that just won't shut off? It's a constant flurry of thoughts, planning tomorrow's tasks, replaying past conversations, criticizing yourself for tiny mistakes, and no matter how hard you try, you can't seem to find the mute button. Sound familiar? You're not alone. Most of us live day in and day out, accompanied by this mental chatter, almost like background static in our lives. We try to ignore it, but it's always there, nagging us for attention. Now, imagine if I told you there's a way to dial down that noise, to reclaim the volume knob on your own mental soundtrack. What if there's a pathway to genuine tranquility, right here, right now, without years of training on some remote mountaintop? You might think that can't be possible, but I promise you it is. Inner peace isn't some far-off dream reserved only for monks and hermits. It's something anyone can tap into, including you. In this video, we're going to explore practical techniques to help you find that calm center. We'll talk about why our minds get so noisy in the first place, the surprising toll it takes on our well-being, and how letting go of the need to control everything can set us free. We'll also dig into the power of being present, truly present, and how to experience life in a way that feels richer, lighter, and more joyful. But this isn't just about quieting the mind for the sake of quiet. It's about uncovering a deeper sense of purpose, connection, and belonging. Because when we learn to still the chatter, we don't just find peace. We find a more profound truth about who we are and what life can be. Ready to see how it all fits together? Take a deep breath, get comfortable, and let's embark on this journey to inner peace together. Let's talk about why your mind is so darn loud all the time. It's like your thoughts have formed their own rock band, playing day and night with zero concern for your personal sanity. One major reason is that our brains are wired to solve problems. From the moment we open our eyes in the morning to the time we drift off at night, we're analyzing, comparing, predicting, and planning. It's what helped our ancestors survive in a world full of saber-toothed tigers and unpredictable storms. But here's the thing: in modern life, the threats we face aren't usually life or death. We're not being chased by wild animals, and shelter is typically more stable than a cave. Still, our minds haven't gotten the memo. They continue to run worst-case scenarios and replay social slip-ups because it believes that's how to protect us. It's almost like a hyper-vigilant guard dog barking at every little sound, even if it's just the wind. On top of that, we live in an age of constant stimulation. Our phones buzz with notifications, screens flash with breaking news, and there's always some new drama popping up on social media. Each of these tiny alerts calls our attention, feeding that mental band with fresh content to jam on. Instead of having some restful downtime, we end up fueling the mind's non-stop commentary, giving it new reasons to spin stories. You might ask, well, can't I just tell my brain to hush? If only it were that simple. The mind doesn't respond well to direct orders like, stop thinking. In fact, trying to force your thoughts away often backfires, making them even louder. Think about it if I say, don't picture a purple elephant. There it is, big ears and all, dancing around in your imagination. So yelling at your brain to quiet down is like telling a toddler to stop crying when they're mid-tantrum. It usually escalates the noise. You might be wondering, okay, so my mind is chatty. Is that really such a big deal? Honestly, yes. Having an overactive mental soundtrack isn't just a minor annoyance. It can seriously interfere with your quality of life. For starters, when your head is filled with all that clutter, it's hard to be in the moment. You're at a family dinner, but you're dwelling on something silly you said at work. You're out for a walk in a gorgeous park, but your mind is already racing through tomorrow's deadlines. This mental clutter means you're rarely ever here, fully experiencing what's in front of you. And in the process, you miss out on the tiny joys, the sparkle in your friend's eyes, the subtle warmth of the sun on your face, the fresh scent of rain after a storm. Day by day, these small wonders slip away, replaced by an endless worry machine churning in your head. It goes deeper than missing small joys. Anxiety and stress often thrive when your mind is in overdrive. The more you mull over problems, both real and imaginary, the heavier they feel. Your brain turns them into mountains, even when they might just be speed bumps. As tension grows, it can manifest in your body. You might get headaches, feel fatigue, or experience that nagging knot in your stomach that never seems to go away. Picture this: you're in a room that's been blaring loud music for hours. Suddenly, the track stops. At first, it might feel jarring, almost too quiet. But then you notice something stunning. The silence isn't empty at all. It's like the air itself is alive. That's what it feels like when the mind's chatter fades. There's a spaciousness, a clarity, that was hidden behind all that noise. In that quiet, you can really listen to what's around you. The gentle hum of the wind outside, the comforting sound of your own breath, the creak of a wooden floor. You become aware of details you've never noticed because your inner radio was drowning them out. This newfound silence isn't about shunning the world, it's about hearing it. It's about letting life show itself to you without the constant filter of worries and judgments. More than just auditory silence, it's an internal stillness. When this inner silence appears, it's like finding a secret garden in the middle of a busy city. You step through the gate, and suddenly everything is lush, vibrant, and calm. The concerns you carried might still exist, but they're not banging pots and pans in your head anymore. They're just there, not demanding your constant attention. If silence is so beautiful and beneficial, why do we cling to our mental noise like a security blanket? Part of it is fear. Letting go of our constant stream of thoughts can feel like stepping into the unknown. We've grown used to thinking as a form of self-defense. If we can just anticipate every outcome, we'll be safe, right? But life doesn't follow a script. No amount of mental rehearsal will guarantee perfect outcomes. Another aspect is habit. We're accustomed to overanalyzing, ruminating, and replaying scenarios. The mind has turned these behaviors into a default setting. Changing that takes awareness and practice, two things our busy lifestyles don't readily encourage. There's a kind of twisted comfort in the noise. As long as we're thinking, we believe we're in control. But do we ever really control every outcome, or do we just exhaust ourselves trying? That's the irony. The more we try to manage every detail, the more anxious we get about the possibility of failure. We tighten our grip, hoping it'll prevent life from throwing curveballs. But life pitches however it wants. Letting go, then, isn't about giving up. It's about recognizing that we don't have the final say in every twist and turn. It's about trusting that sometimes the best response is to allow, just as a surfer rides the wave, rather than trying to redirect the entire ocean. Letting go teaches us to navigate life's uncertainties with more grace. We realize we can adapt, we can respond, and we can even flourish without carrying the burden of controlling it all. We often labor under the belief that if we plan carefully, think vigilantly, and prepare for every contingency, we'll be able to direct the course of events. But let's be honest, how many days actually unfold exactly the way we envision them? Maybe you aim to leave the house by 8 a.m., but your car's tire is flat. Or you set a goal to finish a project at work, only to get sidetracked by emergency meetings. The truth is, life has a mind of its own. It's dynamic, always shifting, and filled with variables beyond our control, like other people's choices, the weather, global events, or just random chance. Yet society teaches us to chase this ghost of total control, as if it's the key to success and happiness. But in chasing that phantom, we pay a price: relentless stress. We tense up whenever something deviates from our plan. We get angry, frustrated, or disappointed, and we carry those emotions around like heavy stones in our backpack. Over time, all that tension builds, sapping our energy. Surprisingly, The real power often comes from acknowledging what we can't control. It might sound paradoxical, but it's like learning to sail. You can't command the wind, yet you can adjust your sails to navigate better. Accepting the unpredictability doesn't make you weak, it makes you flexible. Instead of blaming yourself or others when things go awry, you adapt. You find creative ways to keep moving, or you calmly wait until the weather changes. Let's pause for a second and consider what's actually happening in your reality right now. Not in your head, but in the physical world around you. Maybe you feel the chair supporting you, or you sense the gentle inhale and exhale of your breath. You hear faint sounds, traffic in the distance, the hum of an air conditioner, or even birds chirping. Each of these details is a small part of the present moment. The problem is, our minds have a love affair with time. They adore cycling through past regrets or future worries, rarely pausing to savor the now. It's as if we're constantly time traveling between what was and what might be. Meanwhile, actual life is unfolding in the present, like a movie we keep missing because we're glued to texting or daydreaming. Staying in the present can feel challenging precisely because it's so simple. There's nothing complicated about noticing your breath or the colors of the sky. But the mind finds simplicity boring. It craves drama, challenges, things to fix or prepare for. Yet, ironically, the more we chase these mental dramas, the less fulfilled we often feel. When you do manage to immerse yourself in the present, even for a moment, you might notice an immediate sense of relief. The tension in your neck loosens. The worry lines on your forehead soften. Your shoulders drop from around your ears back to a more natural position. That's the body's way of saying, "Thank you for not dragging me into imaginary battles." Stillness is sometimes misunderstood as a dull emptiness, but it's far from that. Think of a clear lake where the surface is so calm that you can see straight to the bottom. In that stillness, the water reveals its hidden world of fish, pebbles, and plants. If the lake were churning with waves, you couldn't see through it. Your mind works in a similar way. When it's in chaos, you can't easily perceive what's really going on inside or outside of you. But when it settles, insights come into focus. You become more aware of subtle details, your own emotions, the nuances in someone else's voice, or the gentle flutter of leaves on a tree. This doesn't mean you need a silent cabin in the woods to experience stillness, though that can help. Stillness can be found in a bustling city if you learn to pause and breathe. It's not about shutting out the outer world, it's about anchoring in a calm inner space. In many ways, this inner stillness acts like a recharge station for your emotional batteries. Constant noise drains your energy and divides your attention. You might move through your day feeling scattered, as though you're juggling 1,000 balls at once. But in those moments of quiet, you put some of those balls down. You find a sense of wholeness again. All right, so we've covered the why. Now, let's move on to the how. Quieting your mind isn't about flipping a magic switch that turns off thoughts forever. It's about relating to those thoughts differently, allowing mental space to emerge naturally. Below are 3 techniques you can experiment with, and they might be easier than you think. One simple way to dial down mental chatter is to practice deep listening. Find a comfortable spot, maybe it's your couch, your bed, or a corner in the park. Close your eyes or soften your gaze. Then shift your attention to the sounds around you. Don't label them as car, dog barking, or fan noise. Instead, listen as though you're hearing a new language. Each sound is just a vibration in the air. What's fascinating is how when you focus on pure sound, your mind has fewer places to wander. You enter a state of gentle curiosity, hearing not just the obvious noises, but subtle layers. If your mind jumps to analyzing or planning, gently guide it back to the act of listening. Over time, you'll find the mental chatter recedes into the background. Your breath is an anchor in the midst of a busy mind. It's always happening in the present moment. You can't breathe for yesterday or tomorrow, only for right now. Start by taking a slow inhale through your nose, feeling the air fill your lungs. Pause briefly, then exhale through your mouth. Notice the temperature of the air, the movement of your chest or belly, the slight pause before your next inhale. Whenever you notice your thoughts drifting to the grocery list, an old argument, or next week's plans, kindly remind yourself back to the breath. You're not scolding your mind, you're simply inviting it to return to something grounded and real. This gentle repetition trains your focus, making it easier to remain in a calmer mental space. Learning to quiet the mind isn't just about feeling less stressed, though that's a nice bonus. It's about shifting your entire perspective on life. Think of it like adjusting the lens on a camera. When you change the focus, suddenly the picture in front of you transforms even though the scene itself hasn't changed. This shift helps you see that your thoughts, while important, aren't always accurate reflections of reality. They can be distorted by fear, skewed by past experiences, or inflated by wishful thinking. By stepping back and observing the mind's chatter, you start to see how many of your internal monologues are just stories you tell yourself. Some might be helpful, but others might keep you stuck or unhappy. A more spacious perspective also helps you relate differently to challenges. Instead of immediately labeling a situation as bad or unfair, you might pause and notice what's happening without that knee-jerk judgment. Maybe the problem has a hidden opportunity in it. Maybe it's a lesson in patience or resilience. By dropping the automatic labels, you open a door to possibilities. This doesn't mean you become passive or indifferent. On the contrary, you become more engaged with what's real. You respond to life instead of reacting from old habits. Imagine upgrading from an old TV to a high-definition screen. The content might be similar, but the clarity and color are worlds apart. That's the power of a more open, mindful perspective. One of the biggest breakthroughs on the path to a quiet mind and a peaceful heart is acceptance. Many of us confuse acceptance with defeat. We think, if I accept this situation, that means I'm giving up. But acceptance isn't about giving up. It's about dropping the fight against what is. Consider a river. If you jump in and try to push the water upstream, you'll exhaust yourself in minutes. Acceptance is recognizing the flow of the river and choosing to move with it, not because you're lazy, but because you respect reality. It's the same with life's ups and downs. Fighting against circumstances you can't change wastes energy and heightens frustration. Accepting them allows you to channel your energy where it can actually make a difference, like adapting, learning, or seeking solutions. When you cultivate acceptance, you liberate yourself from the emotional friction that comes with resisting reality. Suddenly, things just are. That doesn't mean you don't care. In fact, you might care even more. But your actions come from a calm center, not from panic or fury. You're no longer flailing against the current. You're steering your boat with clarity and intention. Moreover, acceptance paves the way for genuine self-love. Often, we resist not just external situations, but also our own feelings and shortcomings. We might harshly criticize ourselves, thinking self-acceptance will make us complacent. Ironically, it's the opposite. When you accept your flaws without judgment, you create the space to grow. It's like giving a seed the right conditions to sprout, rather than leaving it in a cupboard and hoping it somehow flourishes in the dark. You've made it through a deep exploration of how to quiet your mind and find inner peace. We've touched on why your mental chatter never seems to stop, how it steals your joy, and the simple yet powerful beauty of silence. We looked at letting go, the illusion of control, and what it truly means to live in the present moment. We discussed practical techniques like deep listening, mindful breathing, and labeling thoughts, each a stepping stone toward a calmer, more centered life. So here's your invitation. The next time your mind races off into a million directions, pause. Take a slow breath in and an even slower breath out. Remind yourself that you don't have to chase every thought. You can watch them rise and fall, like waves in the vast ocean you truly are. It's in that gentle act of witnessing that you reclaim your freedom, find your tranquility, and remember the simple magic of just being in this moment. That's the secret to letting go and living in the now, recognizing the storm, but knowing you're the sky in which it happens. May you carry this awareness with you in big storms and small breezes alike. And if you ever forget, just return to your breath, your senses, and your heart. They'll always guide you back to the peace that's been there, patiently waiting all along.